Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you had a good week so far, and we are very happy for you to have joined today. And today we're going to talk about digital transformation in the age, or in the content age. Vitalize your online presence or see your business die. I mean, that's a very exciting topic I would like to discuss today, as it relates to companies of any trade. It doesn't matter these days. If you're not online, you're not happening to especially the younger generation. And I'm personally very interested and invested in this topic by nature of my job, of course, since I'm working here for Searchmetrics in a digital industry, but also being part of the generation that actually got to experience the rise of the internet firsthand. So my very first search engine I Googled in was actually Alta Vista, one of the first meta search engines as I understood it. And I was dialing in with my 56K modem. So that was the early days before the turn of the century. And so it's very interesting to actually see it from this perspective, how the digital, or how the landscape, the competitive landscape differ from offline to online, but also how business model have changed, how user behavior has changed, and how that is impacting practically any kind of businesses. Of course, there are businesses that are less affected by currently by the digital transformation. However, there are businesses that very much rely on it. And so that's the reason why we are talking about that today, and how important it is to really drive digital transformation within your own business. And as I said, it doesn't matter which industry it is. We, of course, going to have an example today based on a very certain industry, but I come to that in a second. The goal of our webinar today is to address the businesses, the decision makers that are maybe traditional companies that haven't even started or just doing digital transformation half-heartedly. And of course, we want to strengthen the voice of the ones that are already promoting digital transformation within their company, because they understood how important it is, but maybe they are not heard. And we want to give them the ammunition to further and to enhance their internal discussions to further go for digital transformation within their business, within their industry. So before we come to the agenda, let us actually start with some statistics actually. So here we looking, and maybe it looks confusing at first. It's really just two really important takeaways here. It was a study done by Bitkom here in Germany. We haven't found the same study in the UK, but we believe that it's very representative for the whole market. And within that questionnaire, companies, businesses in Germany were asked if how important digital transformation is, and if they believe that digital transformation threatens their existence, the existence of the business. And 1/4 of all asked companies actually confirmed that yes, digital transformation seems to threaten the existence of their business, and that is immense. That is really dramatic, and that was one of the reasons we are doing this webinar today. And secondly, 63% of German businesses do not have a central digital strategy. Yes, 4% don't even know about it. 28% do not have a strategy at all, and 31% have a strategy in place in some fields, maybe relating to certain business units or to certain divisions, but not having digital strategy as a whole. And that is very alarming. And we believe that that is happening, especially with traditional industries, quite often these days. And that's the reason why we are doing this webinar today. We also found here a study that that had the topic of the degree of digital transformation of German industries. And of course, information and communication technologies, as you see on the very top, is very advanced when it comes to digital transformation. However, there are industries like the health sector or transport and logistics who are really lagging behind. So what we wanted to do is pick an industry that is quite in the middle. So we choose retail, very traditional industry that of course is already some more, some less in that process of digital transformation. And we're gonna pick the do-it-yourself market today. Before we come to the details though, I would like to give you a rough overview of the agenda. First of all, I would like to introduce Searchmetrics as a software provider, as a software as a service provider. Then we're going to go into the offline do-it-yourself market, a couple of statistics there. Also enlighten the online do-it-yourself market, and then compare both realms with each other and really highlight a couple of alarming things, and how you as a either business owner, decision maker, or driver of digital transformation within your company can take similar numbers in order to convince people to drive digital transformation within your business. And of course, we're going to talk about the sales funnel because we need to put that into the bigger picture. The online world is behaving similarly to the offline world. However, there are some discrepancies here, and we want to highlight them and want to show you how you can find information in regards to that. And then, of course, a practical example, strategy-wise, how you can align your content with the sales funnel, with the prospects of each stage of the sales funnel in order to have a holistic strategy, content strategy there to drive business to your website or to drive traffic to your website, and then of course convert them and in the end add to your bottom line. And of course at the end we're going to have a Q&A session, so whenever you have questions you can post them in the web version of On24 here, and we will then relate to them, or I'm going to ask them later on for the wider audience, and going to of course answer them. Then let us quickly introduce Searchmetrics here. We are, as I already said, a software as a service provider for SEO, enterprise software, as well as content marketing software, with 250 employees around the world. We have offices in London, Berlin, our headquarters, San Mateo in Silicon Valley, and New York and Paris. And currently, or of course, are further expanding here. We have a very diverse team because we believe that diversity is a key differentiator, especially if you want to cater to a global audience. And so our employees come from 20 plus nations, which is really, really interesting to work with so many different nationalities, and it really enhances the overall output of our company. And also we have won quite a few awards in the past, but that's enough. Maybe lastly, our mission, which we claim for the SEO enterprise software as well as content marketing space. Our mission is to enable ever-increasing transparency for the modern marketeer. And I'm going to show you within the wider topic today, how you are able, with the right numbers, to actually increase transparency here for the modern marketeer, or for the also modern C-level management, for example. So you have also a face to the voice. My name is André. I'm heading here the Client Success Management of Searchmetrics for the EMEA region, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And if you have questions you don't want to raise today or any follow-ups, just write me, and I'm more than happy to answer questions to take care of your concerns, questions. Maybe for you to have a reference with what kind of businesses we are working, very traditional businesses, for example, the Golf Channel in the US, as well as very online focused businesses as eBay. But as you can see, it's from a vast variety of industries. And of course, there are more. Those are just the ones we are able to mention. Then let us actually get to the juicy part. So let's have a look at the offline do-it-yourself market. Since that's the revenue since 2004 until 2015, it's not hard to miss that it's in decreasing trend. ever since. And if we look at it holistically, we see that since 2004, the revenue of the do-it-yourself market has decreased by 20%. However, at the same time, the e-commerce revenue within that same space has increased by 7.8%. And that, of course, is threat and opportunity at the same time. And it's probably more a threat to the traditional companies within that space compared to the very online-affine competitors or players in the market. As we can see, for example, Amazon UK, only for the year 2017, had a year-over-year revenue growth of 19%. So they definitely took up a large sum of that e-commerce revenue, and probably a lot of classical or traditional companies, the do-it-yourself companies, were part of that revenue decrease. And that's, of course, it's a threat, but at the same time, as we just have shown, it's an opportunity at the same time. If I'm able, as a traditional company, to drive the digital transformation within my own operation and actually be prepared. Because let's maybe go one back, that number or that trend will, as I believe, further strengthen or further keep on going. So we will have more revenue increase in the e-commerce realm and less revenue within the offline stores. So that's something every business in the do-it-yourself market should be prepared for. If we look at Amazon as one of the most dominant players within the do-it-yourself offline market, online market, you see that they have increased their product offering from 2014 from 2.2 million products to 2016 onto 5.1 or 5.2 million products. That's an increase of 126%. So they're definitely preparing themselves for taking up more market share from the traditional players. At the same time, that's from the Searchmetrics suite. It's the SEO visibility, so it's just an index that shows us how visible is a certain domain to the market, to the demand. So how well are they offering their products to the demand that is within the online world? In that case, we look at the Google search engine within the UK market. So we see that we have four players here, four very traditional players. It's DoItYourself.com, which is owned by B&Q. We have Wikis.co.uk, Wilco.com, and bmstores.co.uk. However, you can see that the performance of each website is very different from each other. So we have do-it-yourself really dominating the market here with a high visibility. So they're very high for a lot of search terms, for a lot of topics the users are actually asking or Googling, so they're able to be very present in front of the audience to really show what kind of products they have. Whereas, for example, BM stores is quite low here and therefore is not as visible. And of course, visibility somehow relates to traffic and in the end revenue to some extent. We look at the market shares here. So DoItYourself.com very strong here, leading the market with 8%. Amazon has increased their market share over the last 2 years heavily. So they climbed up to 6%, even though they're not from that space at all, from the do-it-yourself market. Wickets.com with 5%, Wilco 4%, and BM stores with 2%. The rest of the market, as you can see, 75% of the market share is taken up by other players. So it's a very diverse market, and each percentage point here is really relating to bottom line figures and therefore revenue. So let's compare. Actually, we had some offline figures and some online figures. Let's compare them and actually put them into a different perspective here. So we had the revenue numbers of B&Q, Wickes, Wilco, and B&M stores. So here you can see that DoItYourself.com, B&Q, is leading the market by turnover and also leading the market by SEO visibility. So they're very well positioned. They're a very strong player in the offline as well in the online realm. Wix is not as strong overall within the market, but they have a very strong online presence, so they're very prepared for that split, for that difference between that development of offline figures decreasing and online figures revenue increasing, because they are already very visible. The same is true for Wilco, even though they have a low turnover compared to B&M stores, for example. They are very well positioned within the online world. And here, by turnover, B&M stores second place actually. But if we look at their online presence, they're not very visible compared to the other three players. So the likelihood of them further losing out if they're not preparing themselves in form of digital transformation within the next years, they're going to lose out further online market share and hence going to lose turnover within the next couple of years. And maybe putting those two figures from offline and online in relation to each other. Here we see the SEO visibility, that visibility index for DoItYourself.com with 144,000. If we relate that to their turnover of 3.6 million, we can build up a ratio where we see that B&M stores, for example, turnover-wise, they are at the level of 55% of the market leader in complete turnover. However, if we look at the online KPI, the visibility KPI, we can see that online-wise, they're only at 23% of the DoItYourself.com visibility, and that already poses a big threat to that website. So that number will even further decrease if they do not prepare themselves. And the question is now, how do I prepare myself? How do I convince maybe internal stakeholders, decision makers, maybe my CEO, to really focus on digital transformation, and how, first of all, maybe having a concept in place, at the same time really knowing what KPIs are important and how do I get them, to convince people, to measure my progress, and to kind of go through that circle of analysis, action, control, measurement, and then of course reiteration of that process to really see how it's going and where do I need to put in my resources. And it all starts with a sales funnel, because in the end, the sales funnel is a representation of the user journey. So we, most of the time, or actually always, if we bought a product, whether it's online or offline, it doesn't matter. We started as a user or as a prospect, as a potential customer. We started in the awareness stage. The awareness stage is relating to certain questions, to certain content I want to consume as a customer, as a potential customer, in order to make up my mind which of the product offering, or which product in the whole product offering is actually really the product I really need, which is fitting my requirements and my needs best. So we start in the awareness stage, then move over to consideration stage. Then at some point we do the transaction, and then of course we have that customer relationship phase. So 80% of all the questions raised online, of all the search volume, if you have all the keywords in the world that are Googled every day, 80% of those questions, keyword queries, or not keyword queries, but queries within the search engine are related to awareness and consideration stage. And only 20%, respectively 10% transaction and 10% relationship, a customer relationship, are then really the bottom of the funnel. So for me as a website, as a business wanting to do digital transformation, it's really important for me that I do not only focus on that 20%, so I'm offering the right content on my website for that 20%, but really I need to understand that I can raise brand awareness and of course start already pulling the potential customer onto my specific user journey if I start creating content for the awareness and consideration stage, where 80% of all the searches are happening. And that's really important to understand. It's not only about having that product page where I have my paid AdWords campaign set up for, and I'm only getting my traffic to that page. It's really getting the whole traffic of that whole sales funnel onto my page, or providing at least the relevant information for each stage of that sales funnel. And why is that so important? Maybe we take an example here based on the DoItYourself Market. So if we think of it, and the user journey might start at the point where somebody is asking you questions, Christmas gifts for him. So, or what do I buy my husband, my boyfriend, whoever, what do I buy for Christmas? And that question then might be, I'm going to research that online. You see 7,536 people look for that term, for that specific topic within the UK market every month. And then from that, if I, of course, offer the right content, the next question of that user journey in the consideration phase might be, a cordless drill might be the right one. So somebody might go into Google and type in cordless drill. That's looked up by 19,537 people within a month. So that's already quite higher search volume, and it's already going much more into my direction of my specific market, the do-it-yourself market. Then, of course, the transactional query would be more something like Bosch cordless drill, which, of course, goes down in search volume because it's already, the people are quite down, further down the sales funnel, so it's only relating to 2,600 searches. And if I, as a company, only focus on my product page where I sell, or category page where I sell cordless drills, maybe Bosch cordless drills, and then or rank with a product page, my potential market is only 2,600 people within a month. Whereas when I really consider the whole user journey, the awareness stage, consideration stage, transactional stage, as well as the customer relationship stage, then I'm suddenly talking about a potential market of 81,000 or almost 82,000 people. So it's a huge difference. And that, of course, pays in to the whole concept of conversion rates. Because if I have a certain conversion rate, yes, I can optimize my conversion rate, maybe by a couple of percentage points. But in the end, the money is made by just getting more people to my website and by increasing my potential market from 2,600 people to 81,000 people, and at the same time improving my conversion rate. That definitely adds to the bottom line. Yeah, let's have a look at the practical example. So here we have that Bosch cordless drill, and that's a very specific model, the PSR 144 LI-2. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you what it is, but somebody who has gone through the whole user journey already and maybe has 1, 2, or 3 products they really want to buy, they're going to type that in one more time into Google in order to understand, where do I actually find the best, maybe the cheapest version, or the version where it's least complicated to order, maybe the fastest delivery, whatever it is. I'm going to type in that model specifically, and I will get something like this in the search result pages. So here you can see it's very much shopping focused. You have the shopping listing ads on top. You have the traditional paid advertisements straight underneath, and only then comes the organic search result. So I don't have to necessarily optimize my and that's where keywords are less relevant and we are talking more about topics. I don't have to optimize for very specific products and create amazing content around that. I can still run my traditional paid AdWords campaign. But what we are talking about is actually having a holistic strategy in place where I, as a website provider, are able to drive people very early in the sales funnel stage to my website, deliver the right content, answer the right questions to those people, to then already make them aware with my brand, make them familiar with my brand, and then make their user journey much more convenient. And they will remember that, and they will then come back. Maybe even not having to click on your paid AdWords because you're already known to them. So that saves you paid AdWords budget maybe, and adds to your bottom line at the same time. Or you have a nice holistic strategy where you have very focused content on the first steps of the users or of the sales funnel, and then have a very specific paid AdWords campaign strategy for the other 20%, the bottom of the funnel. So how do I find out which terms are related to informational searches and transactional searches, to really understand how can I implement the best holistic strategy? And of course you need data for that. And yeah, we as Searchmetrics of course provide you that data, or provide you with that data. Here, for example, with our Searchmetrics content experience, where you can cluster, or where we cluster keywords for you based on informational, navigational, and transactional intents. So you can very easily understand which content needs to be created for what part of the user funnel, and what keywords does that really relate to, what topics does that relate to. So here we do that automatically with deep learning algorithms and such, also natural language processing and whatnot. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, within each stage, the consumer, the potential consumer, the prospect will of course have different questions you need to answer. And we have a mechanism that actually displays you with the right quest, or with the questions the consumer, the potential customers actually have. And then you are just enabled to answer those questions, and therefore Google just being able to connect the right supply of content to the actual demand from the market. And of course, every country is different within, based on their inherent cultural differences, is different in their user journey. For example, here the cordless drill in Germany, very generic term, is looked up very often by Germans compared to UK and US, even though the US is a much larger market, because Germans generally tend to, or want to research heavily on their own. Yeah? Whereas in the US, for example, they very much prefer already somebody doing a lot of research for them, and hence the search volume for the best cordless drill. So a little bit further down the sales funnel already, the best cordless drill has a much higher search volume here in the US compared to Germany, for example. And if we look at the UK, it's true as well that, of course, the search volume is a bit lower. But here, just to understand what kind of, if I'm an international company, what kind of cultural differences do exist within each market, and how content-wise do I have to react to that? So that is really important for you when you devise your digital strategy. And here, maybe that's not company or industry related. We have quite a nice, I call it a prime example actually, for how do I connect a holistic content strategy to all parts of the sales funnel. The website here is called Springlane. It's an e-commerce. It's a website doing e-commerce. So they have a shop on their website, but they also provide very generic content that relates to a lot of questions people have around the whole topic of cooking and recipes and such. So, for example, if we look at the topic boiling an egg, you can see that Springlane is ranking on position 0 already with a snippet. You can see that they're taking the first search result as well. And the reason for that is that they have a very holistic website that tells you actually how to boil an egg in every step. So whether you want to have a hard-boiled egg, a soft-boiled egg, and so on. They show you videos, they show you structured list, unstructured list, they have jump marks. So the user experience on their website is so convenient for the people. They get all the questions answered. They could have even it doesn't matter what stage of the sales funnel you are in. And then, of course, in the end, they even give you a call of action to maybe buy a product that relates to how to best boil an egg. So you can see it's pictures, videos, a lot of text. And if we analyze that, here you can see that's analyzed with our content editor, where you can see how what's the keyword or the content coverage, how well are they writing it, relating to covering the right topics, answering all the questions, as well as having a high content score. We did a study recently where you can see that a high content score also relates to good rankings, because it very much relates to the user intention of the keywords you want to rank for. And also what you can see there, 270% over the actual average content that is needed, that is written by the competitor. So I'm not saying that a lot of content or more content is better, but that sometimes more content also relates to better user journey, to being able to answer all questions, all possible questions, even anticipating questions that are not related to a certain user funnel stage or but that might arise by reading through your content. And what you can see then is that, if we look at that one landing page, it's ranking for 815 keywords or topics. In the end, it's outperforming the competition by far, and the funny thing about it is they're even making money with it. So that's one of the prime examples I've seen yet, combining or having a website having a holistic online content strategy that actually relates to all steps of the sales funnel and speaks to the potential audience as a whole. And here you can see that Springlane just didn't come up with a perfect content strategy. There were certain, or it was an iterative process. They started here at the very beginning, started very well. Then they hit a barrier ranking-wise or performance-wise. And they at some point said, okay, we need to update our content, because yes, it might be, as they in the content field, they talk about evergreen content. So it's content that is mainly relating to the consumer base. Doesn't matter if it's now or within 5 years. However, there are always little updates, and there's always little things that needs to be updated, whether it's a video or just a table where the date is wrong, things like this, where you just need to have little tweaks to just optimize your content further based on how the market had also developed at the same time. So updating content is one strategy that really helps. And just because you created content, really good content once, doesn't mean that you're going to be performant for the next 5 years, as we even have seen here with Springlane. So they had to do a content update here in phase 1 again. Then you see they jumped up, they had a good performance for quite a while, and then the market changed again, user behavior changed again. And then they had to have a third update in order to really stay on top of the market. So it's not easily done. Nobody says it's easily done, but if you have the right data, if you have the right processes in place, it can be a really successful way to simply update your evergreen content on a regular basis. And then if we look at it from a holistic point of view, from a holistic website point of view, Springlane has increasing visibility. So it's always visible to a lot of different topics clients, potential clients are asking. So they are definitely a very strong brand within that whole do-it-yourself kitchen market. So I hope in a summary that we could give you a couple of insights how you can actually use data in the right way to really inform or drive the digital transformation within your company. Because it's one thing. I mean, every company that has a website has an analytics tool, and it's always nice to know your traffic numbers, conversion rates. It's one part of the puzzle, or one piece of the puzzle. However, you need to put those numbers into perspective as well, because if you just look at absolute numbers, knowing that you have, I don't know, X amount of clicks per month, on your product page is nice to see and nice to know, and you're making a certain amount of revenue with it. But what if that is only, I don't know, 0.5% of the market, 0.5% market share? That means that you still had a lot of potential. So you need to put your analytics data into some perspective. And with tools such as the Searchmetrics suite or the content experience, you are able to take that data and actually bring that to the next level by relating it to competitive insights, competitive data. We crawl for you, we prepare for you, we provide to you, so you don't have to do that on your own. So you can actually take your very precious analytic data and put that into a market perspective, and therefore have a completely different conversation within your organization, how to further drive digital transformation based on certain market segments, where you can see that a competitor is very strong in a different market segment, where you have a lot of potential, maybe already having good traffic numbers, but through the rankings in the SERPs and the potential we can show you in our suite, you can then bring forward a business case to convince budget holders to invest more into your operation to drive more digital transformation within your business. So we hope that we could already answer a lot of questions you had on your mind, and I'm more than happy to now jump into the Q&A session in order to answer more questions. Cool, there are no questions. Then if there comes something to mind afterwards, just drop me an email. I'm more than happy to discuss that offline. And thank you for participating, for attending today. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the week and hear you soon, kind of. Bye.